Hey up everybody, Magpie Gaming here, hope you're all doing well. So in this video we're going to talk about hatchets, or hatchlings as a lot of people like to call them. Recently BSG has applied an experimental fix to the servers to try and combat the apparent issue of hatchlings in the servers. So basically what they've done now is if you go into a map as a hatchet, you will be instantly known as tagged and cursed to the scavs on that map. Now for anybody that's played in offline mode and put tagged and cursed on, you know how it works. Basically the scavs will just try and rush you and kill you, and it's a bit like a horde mode in some ways. So if you've ever done that, you'll know a little bit about what tagged and cursed is. But it basically means that the scavs will be attracted to you more than anything else and will focus on trying to get you more than anything else that is currently in the same area. Now they've done this as a reaction to a lot of people complaining about hatchets on the maps. They're complaining about hatchets taking the loot, hatchets getting in the way, just basically moaning about hatchets. Now I have got to say that since 0.12, I'm not really sure how many hours I've put into the game, but it'll be a couple of hundred since then, easy. I've got to say that I've maybe seen 7 or 8 hatchets in all of that time. I very rarely see any, and I've got to say that I think this whole thing is being blown out of proportion. I don't really think there is an issue with hatchets. I think what the issue is that the people are jumping on the hype train on Reddit, on Twitter, on Facebook, moaning about the hatchets. Hatchets are taking all my loot. How do you know there was loot in there in the first place? You know, you get to room 310 in Shoreline and it's open and there's nothing left in there. Maybe there's just a fucking bronze, bronze horse or whatever, and instantly people go, oh, the hatchet took the good loot. Maybe, maybe not. It could have been another geared player that had a closer spawn than you. It could have been that there was no loot in there in the first place, that the loot just didn't spawn. It could be that, a hatchet did take it, but I don't know, it's just such an argument that really pisses me off, because there are so many variables on a map and instantly people just want to blame the hatchets. The hatchets did it, the hatchets took it, the hatchets got the LEDX, the hatchets got in there first. You just don't know that. You do not know that for sure unless you see the hatchet there. And then if you do see a hatchet, what do you do with them? Quite a lot of people will just let them go on their way, because that person could be trying to complete a really hard quest and going in as a hatchet is a good way to do it. That person might be really down on their luck and just trying to bag a bit of swag so that they can afford at least a half decent loadout. You just don't know. So there seems to be that there are a lot of thick geared players that are moaning about this, and I really don't understand their point of view. I don't get it. As a geared player, yes, it's good to get to a room and get some loot out of it. It's good to get to a certain location and that, rare item still be there. That's great. And the very first thing you will do as a geared player, if you see that Tetris or you see that Bitcoin, is you will gamma it, because you think, yes, that's worth a fair bit of money. But in all honesty, this far into a wipe, the other geared players are worth a lot more. Yes, you can get into that room and you can find a clock, or you can find a vase, or you could maybe find a Tetris or a graphics card, but at the end of the day that geared player is going to be worth more. They're going to be rocking great armor, they're going to be rocking great helmets, they're going to be rocking brilliant guns, they're going to be rocking the best ammo. So those are the people that I want to go after when I go in as a geared player. A hatchet is no issue to me whatsoever. So I don't understand the point of view of all these people saying that, hatchets are ruining the game, because they're really not. They've been a viable way to play this game since day one. Everybody that's been around and playing this game for a couple of years now knows and understands how hatchet works and has done it themselves a fair bit, no doubt, and really doesn't seem to have an issue. It does seem to be that since there's been a huge influx of players into the game recently with the Twitch drops over New Year, etc., that this has become more of an issue for a certain band of people. But of course new players are going to hatch it because, they're trying to complete quests, they're trying to make a bit of money, they're trying to play the game the way they want to play the game. And that is the beauty of Tarkov for me, is that when you go into that raid, you play it however the hell you want, and it is entirely down to the other players on the server to counter how that player wants to play it. So if that player wants to go in the map and camp the extract, that's up to them. It's a viable tactic. It's a bit of a dick move, I agree. It's very annoying, but it's a viable tactic and you've got to try and counter it. if a person wants to go in fully geared with 2 primary weapons and try and kill everybody, you again have to try and counter that. You've got to try and either avoid them or kill them or at least survive them. If you go in as a hatchet, you've got to counter that hatchet. Do you kill him? Do you let him go on the way? It's just, that's the beauty of Tarkov. You play it however the hell you want to play. And this is just a knee-jerk reaction, forcing a certain section of players to try and play the game the way they believe another section of players should play it. And I don't think that's right. I don't think that's something that should be done. So there's a couple of questions that are left to ponder about this. Does this apply if you go in with a pistol? Apparently it still does, from what I'm reading. Even if you go in with just a pistol and a few magazines and a scav vest, you will still be tagged and cursed, from what I'm reading. Does this apply if you go in as a hatchet but then find a weapon? You may go in and find a primary weapon. You might find an M1A, you might find an M4, you might find a VSS or an AK. Are you still classed as tagged and cursed then? Don't know. It just, for me, and a lot of people are saying the same thing, it seems a very lazy solution to a non-problem. There's a certain section, a small section I think, of players that are moaning, and BSG have once again pandered to them and decided to completely rip up the rulebook and change things. So people are now going in squads, and a 5-man squad will go in with one of them as a hatchet so that they can now farm all of the scavs. People are going into factory. They're basically camping gate 3 with one of them as a hatchet, pulling the scavs in and farming them. Now, people will say, why would you farm scavs? Well, scavs sometimes have fairly decent loot on them. Their pockets can be full of very useful things, keycards, grenades, things like that. Okay, you might get a load of shitty SKSs and AKs off them, but at the same time, it's all money and it's all very easy to farm. So I just think that they've really messed things up at the moment with this move, and I can't see it really staying this way for very long. It's completely changing the dynamics of the maps. Obviously people are going in, farming scavs now. That means that there are very few scavs for normal PMCs to go after. Just seems like they've changed a lot of things that didn't really need changing, and yeah, as I say, knee-jerk reaction to a non-problem. There are other ways to counter hatchets. There are people that hatchet all day long, every day, looking for the rare loot. Now, if you go into a raid with no weapon attached, then you should have a 30-minute cooldown timer added to you. So regardless of whether you extract or disconnect, because you went in with no weapon, you won't be able to go into another raid for 30 minutes. It's easily doable. They already know when you go in with or without a weapon because of the reaction to leaving a raid. You know, if you go in with no weapon and you get killed, you lose more health than you would if you went in with a weapon. So it's already there. They can do that. They can make that a thing. How about if you're trying to go in with no weapon attached? It costs you money to go into the raid, 50,000 rubles or 100,000 rubles. So then as a hatchet, you really do need to work for that loot. You really need to make sure that you get that loot. How about if you go in as a hatchet and you disconnect just to get out with the stuff that you've gammered? You then have a 1 hour cooldown timer and you can't go into another raid for another hour. You know, there are ways and means of combating this, and this just seems to be a way that is going to affect everybody rather than just the hatchets, and it doesn't make sense to me. So how about, you know, lowering the scav timer so people are more inclined to go in with a basic loadout that you get as a scav rather than going in as a hatchet? You know, it seems to me that geared players don't want other people to not go in without a weapon. Now at the end of the day, if I go in as a geared player, yes, I want to kill other geared players, but if there are more geared players, then there's more chance of me dying. So if a couple of them are hatchets, it's less, you know, it's less for me to worry about. This argument could just go on and on and on, and you can go round and round in circles with it. And like I say, it just seems a very lazy solution to a non-problem. And looking at what I'm reading online, it seems that quite a lot of people agree with that opinion. Yes, there are those that think that this is a good move, but already it's been exploited. People are using it to farm scavs, they're using it to their advantage. You know, you need to go on interchange and kill 25 scavs, that's just been made really easy for you. You need to go on woods and kill 5 scavs, that's just been made really easy for you too. So, you know, it just seems like a complete knee-jerk reaction and not really thought through at all. But anyway, what do I know? I am just a Tarkov player with nearly 2.5 years experience, so I'm just probably talking bullshit. But anyway, let me know in the comment section down below what you think about this move. Do you think it's good? Do you think it's bad? Do you think they'll change it back? Do you think they should keep it like this because it's proving to be fun? Because some people are saying that it is actually fun. Let me know in the comment section below what you think. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching and listening. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.